So welcome to Resto Designs, guys, and we're back on the Mark IV, the Wagon R. So it's all about getting this intercooler fitted today, sorting out the front panel. There was some front damage, so hopefully the front panel will line up. We can get this intercooler on, do some draggy tests, see if there's an improvement by putting an intercooler on. So here is that intercooler. It came off my project Beat Brexit. So this is all custom made by them with the little brackets holding it in place. Forge intercooler maybe or something. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of modification to the front bumper, I think, because it does sit quite close. So first things first, and let's take this front bumper off. As some of you guys may have seen in some of the earlier stuff, I've done quite a few things to this with the oil cooler at the front here, and this has got a copy panel on it and it just flexes a lot, as you can see, as well as it's all broken and these are not even being held in place. The screws missing, and I'm hoping that as you can see, the front panel's broken there. I'm hoping now when I put the original panel on, it fits perfectly. So all right, next thing to do is to remove the crash bar, headlights, take off the intercooler, secure the radiator, somehow the pipes, because we're going to remove the front panel. So here we can see the crash damage a bit more, or just the damage of, look, it's just falling apart, this front panel. Substandard quality really. I mean, look all that rust. I'm gonna wire brush that down and then just give that a coat of primer and paint on there so it doesn't rust anymore. I mean, to me, that looks pretty bent actually, that leg. Let's see when I put the front panel on, how it lines up and how far it is out. The wings never seem to sit straight with the bumper, and this kind of trim bit actually bent, so I'm gonna replace it with the one off the donor car, as well as this plastic trim is also missing the little kind of clip that goes into here to let you screw on the bumper and also the splash guards properly. So I'm also going to replace these. Hopefully this will straighten out the bumper a little bit. So bolted up the original front panel, and it actually wouldn't line up with these holes at the top here. So I had to get my big bar mate here, slide it into here and actually lever it out a bit so it lines up. So that's done. So it could be interesting to see how this all lines up with the headlights go on. Just gonna have to take the cable tie off here, get the radiator into place, bolt that into place, and then see how the rest of it lines up. The chassis legs line up, only one hole, the other one doesn't. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna put the bar on and then try and straighten it as much as I can afterwards, but then I will actually get the body shop to actually maybe pull it with a jig and straighten these legs out slightly at the front here. I'm no bodywork expert, but I've done a few little bits here, because it was literally, by pulling this out, the wing was miles and miles away from the headlight. So I literally just, with brute force, kind of bent this bit round, and it's actually got and there was a massive gap as well between this and the bonnet, and now the shut line isn't too bad all the way up. It's pretty even. This side is a little bit out, as you can see, so I'm going to do the same as well. As you can see, it's kind of, I can get my finger in there around the headlight. Gave the intercooler a bit of black spray. Obviously, like I said earlier on at the beginning of the video, I need to hide this as much as it can. And the 130 has these kind of push-on clips. The 115 doesn't, which is quite nice, because the 115 is you can just use normal hoses. So what I did is actually kept this original 115 hose, and I had to get a reducer to go from, I think, the 60mm to the 51mm to fit on this original pipe. So that's as it is, with the map sensor on there. Now the other one, which comes the hot side that comes from the turbo, would go all the way around the back, and it had this contraption here, the red pipe, and they literally just pushed another clip on it and it was actually leaking slightly. Again, the 115 has these push-on connectors here. Again, I've got a reducer that goes to 2-inch, and the standard pipe actually meets this angle, so I'm actually going to improve it. So it's going to be a shorter run with no dodgy connectors and a few less Jubilee clips, which is always a bonus. So it's going to look a lot neater as well. In question that I was talking about, and this is where I need to cut it basically. So it's going to be that much shorter without these dodgy pie cuts, so it's going to flow a lot better. So I'm quite happy with myself. I've actually taken this much out of the modified system and modified it myself to make it a lot more neater. So like I said, the cold side out of the Forge intercooler comes around, goes into here. I've also put in like a little sponge so it doesn't knock around and vibrate, and that's now the shorter run that comes out of the standard hose. from the hot side straight into the intercooler. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this performs now with this 115 engine, now that it's got everything bolted onto it. So I'm happy how it's turned out. It looks totally OEM plus, which is really important here in Portugal because I need to keep the car on the down low. So from the engine bay, it looks totally standard with the original boost pipes just disappearing where they go. So it looks like it's totally standard, like there's no front mount intercooler. On the front bumper, there's 0 signs that I have a front mounted intercooler, which is really, really cool. I mean, the only slight little sign you might be able to see is it's kind of trimmed along here. Let me turn the light on. You can kind of tell there's a black boost pipe there. I've even sprayed the Jubilee clips in black as well, so they don't stand out because you wouldn't have normally have a pipe there. So yeah, really happy with that. It's worked out better than I'd hoped, really. So now let's see if it actually performs as good as it looks. Let's see if it puts down some good times. I'm hoping it will. I'm hoping it will get me into the 8s and into the 15s on a quarter mile, which for a wagon is not bad. And that's not bad also for a 115, because it's still got the 115 in there with all the bells and all the little bolt-on bits onto it. Let's see if I can get those figures and if the intercooler makes that much of a difference. All right, guys, let's pull this out and let's go for a drive. Right, I'm back from the test drive. So the figures are in. But before I reveal the figures, please bear in mind, this is a 115 block PD. So also, please bear in mind, guys, that this is a wagon, and the wagon generally is about a second slower 0 to 100k than it is a 2-door hatch. So it is slower by a good second. Quarter mile times, I can't find a quarter mile time on the wagon, but I'm assuming as well it's going to be, you know, near enough half a second slower than a 2-door hatch would be as well. All right, guys, I'm maybe going to do a screenshot so you guys can see clearer. All right, so on the same bit of roads with the same half tank of fuel, same conditions as always, it's actually done a 0 to 100k, 0 to 62 miles an hour in 8.5 seconds. Like I said, for a hatch, that would be quite slow because a hatch would be a second quicker. So if this was a hatch, a 2-door hatch, it would actually be doing it in 7.5-ish seconds. For a wagon, 8.5 seconds is not bad. This is a 115 block and head on it. So that's really not bad. I'm quite happy with that. I've dipped into the 15s, a 15.87. It did it at 144 kilometers, which is about 90 odd miles an hour. Comparing it to before the intercooler was done, which is a 16.2. So that's, again, a good half a second quicker. So it's half a second quicker over the quarter mile and easily half a second quicker 0 to 100 as well. And the speed has actually gone up by about 3k. It's up to 141 compared to 144. We're moving in the right direction. So there you go, guys. A good intercooler does actually make a difference. Quite a noticeable difference, it seems, especially compared to the standard one. And I guess it makes total sense, right? Because even VW changed the intercooler on the 150 compared to all the other models. They actually put a larger one because they could already tell that that standard little side mount one wasn't man enough, big enough for the job. So there is definitely a gain to be had by fitting a front mount intercooler. Now, if there's a difference between this Forge one compared to an eBay one, I can't really tell you. And if there was a difference, it only may be minute, if any at all. But over a standard one, it's always going to make a massive difference, it seems. And that is literally the end of the road now for the 115. The next time you see this car in part 10, it will be actually going to change the engine and gearbox from the 130. That's got a brand new head in it, all the bits and bobs all being restored on that. And once that goes in, then I'm going to go to DD Motorsport and we're going to get the map actually finalized for the engine, because the map that was on it that he put on there was only a reflash. It wasn't actually a custom map to the bits that was on the car. So I think there's definitely a lot more to come because this turbo can hold a little bit more boost as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what the final figure is going to be. I'm hoping for over 200s. Part 10 will literally be the end of kind of the progression of this engine-wise for the time being. Maybe in the future I might go for a slightly bigger turbo. As it is, I'm quite happy with it as a daily wagon. It does more than enough. It shocks a lot of people, even with the handling. There was a Mini Cooper S that got a bit of a shock on some twisty roads that this wagon was keeping up with him. And I like it because it's understated and it takes a hell of a lot of load. All that junk there now is actually going to the scrapyard. to get that all that weighed in, all that metal that I've got. All right, guys, I'm waffling on. Thanks for watching. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Click on that notification bell and be safe.